Hello, everyone, and welcome to National Work Experience Week. I am Andy, as you know, from Careermap TV, and this evening we are joined by PwC to talk about their Virtual Insight Programme, Career Launch, their Flying Start Programme, and all of their school and college leave opportunities as well. Remember, this session is recorded, so if you do have any things that you miss or don't remember, don't worry, it will be up on our YouTube and website as well. There's a Q&A at the end as well, so if you have any questions, leave them in the chat line Q&A box, and we will return to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'll pass on to the PwC guys to continue with our session.
Perfect, thank you. Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Thank you all for jumping on the session. I know many of you have probably just finished a long day at school or college, so we do appreciate you taking the time to jump on. Now, today we're going to talk to you a bit more about discovering a career or a future with us here at PwC. Now, on today's agenda, we're going to cover who we are at PwC, our opportunities, the selection process, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A where you can ask myself or any of our ambassadors any questions, and then we can talk you through next steps. Now, before we kind of dive straight into it, I think it's a good idea that I introduce myself. So my name is Hafsa. I work in the student recruitment team at PwC, and as part of my role, I look after all of our engagement with our schools and colleges in and around the north, and I also recruit for our tax and deals roles, whether they're graduate roles or roles for school and college students like yourselves. Now, who are we at PwC? I think it's a good idea if we maybe use the chat box function to see who has heard of PwC before. So can we get a few yeses or nos maybe? So who has heard of PwC before? I'm not sure if the chat function is working or not, but we'll leave it at that and we'll move on. For those of you that have heard of PwC, great, because today's session will kind of cover a bit more about who we are and what we do. But for those of you that haven't, thank you for jumping on, because this is definitely the perfect place to find out more about us. So what do we do at PwC? What I always say to students is that you can't exactly go into a shop and purchase a PwC branded item. We don't really sell a product or a thing. Instead, our products are our people who are professionals and experts in a range of different business areas, which I can kind of cover in a bit more detail shortly. In essence, what we do at PwC is that we like to solve important problems and offer advice to organisations of all different sizes in lots of different sectors, whether that's a small family-owned business or a big multinational corporation, whether the business is in the private sector or the public sector. We do lots of different work with lots of different clients of all sizes, and we help them to improve productivity and grow across the economy. So that's basically what we do at the firm. Now, a bit more about us and some statistics. We have over 22,000 employees in the UK and over 320,000 around the world in over 150 countries. So we do operate in lots of different kind of aspects of the globe, and 150 countries, that covers 80% of the world. So we're definitely a really, really big multinational kind of corporation. We have 19 offices across the UK, which you can see listed along the side of the screen. And we work with over 25,300 clients, helping them to create value within their businesses, just to make sure that they are kind of competitive in the market in which they operate in. We are one of the UK's largest recruiters of school and college leavers and of graduates and undergraduates as well. So there's definitely lots of different opportunities for you to kind of join the firm and get involved in lots of different work that we do. Now, just to go into a bit more detail about life at PwC, just so that you can get a bit more of a context about what it's like to work with us. So we have a dress for your day policy, which means that you don't need to come into work every day in a suit and a tie or in heels. You can basically dress for your day, which means that it's basically up to you what you wear. So let's just say, for example, you're going into the office and you've only got internal meetings with your team. You'll be able to dress a lot more relaxed. You can maybe come in jeans and a t-shirt. Whereas if you are representing PwC externally with clients, you'd obviously have to put in a lot more effort and maybe dress a bit more smarter. So we do have that kind of autonomy and freedom there, flexibility, which is great that there is that trust amongst all of us employees to be able to choose what works best for us. We also have lots of volunteering opportunities. So Every year, all of our employees are given up to 6 days, which is 45 hours per employee, to volunteer during their working hours. We do have something that we refer to as OFOD, which is one firm, one day, which is coming up in May, so in a few weeks' time. And it's basically where within our teams, we all have a day off work and we go and give back to the community. So I know in previous years, some teams have gone to primary schools and helped children with their kind of numeracy or literacy skills. We've had people go to like hospices in the past and are supported with food banks. I know this year myself and my team will be litter picking around Manchester, and we'll be going to an allotment to plant some things and kind of help the community in that way, I guess. So there's lots of different things that we can be getting involved with outside of our day-to-day jobs. We are also very big and very passionate on inclusion and diversity. So PwC has a 5-point action plan to better the inclusion and diversity within the firm. And it really does come at the core of everything that we do, especially within my role in recruitment and making sure that we are recruiting more diverse talent. We have 14 internal networks which focus on faith, ethnicity, gender identity and sexual orientation, as well as much more. So there's definitely kind of like a group of people at the firm that you should be able to resonate with. And the best way to kind of describe our networks is a bit like societies at university, I guess. You can join them. They take part in lots of different activities. There's events that happen and take place. So definitely lots of things to be getting on with outside of your day-to-day. And in terms of our values at PwC, we're very big on reimagining the possible. We have a big focus on technology and making sure that we are kind of keeping up to date with technology so that we remain kind of competitive in the market. We are big on looking after our employees, so we're big on care and working together. And we're definitely very passionate about making a difference and acting with integrity. So all of our PwC values kind of come together to make sure that we are a very open and inclusive working environment. And these kind of govern our actions and enable us to be successful and leaders within the market. Now, in terms of our opportunities, again, I'm not sure if the chat box function is working or not. Because I've not seen anything come through. I'm not sure if it's just for me, but it would be great to hear what year group a lot of our students are in. So it would be good to know if you're in year 11, year 12, if you're maybe slightly older or slightly younger. You just want to pop that in the chat box. But just to kind of go over our opportunities whilst you guys are doing that. So for our year 11 and year 12 students, we have something called our Virtual Insight Programme. And then for year 12 students, specifically within Manchester and Belfast, we have our Career Launch Work Experience programme. Both of these programmes then lead on to any of the orange boxes for when you get to year 13, where you're putting in your applications. So we have our school and college leaver programmes for those who want to go straight into full-time work. We have our Flying Start degree programmes for students that want to go to university, but also get that hands-on experience at PwC. And then we also have routes for students who decide to kind of just go to university off their own back and then join us on one of our graduate schemes after. Now, it's really important to note that we don't favour one pathway over another. It really does just depend on what you're kind of more suited to, whether you want to go into full-time education or if you want to go into full-time work. Now, it's important to note that regardless of what pathway you choose to take, it does result in a successful career at PwC. So to go straight into it, as I mentioned, for year 11 and year 12 students, we have our Virtual Insight Programme. This takes place in the summer, where we'll be running a virtual programme for both year 11 and 12 students. And that is slightly different for those of you that are based in Scotland or in Northern Ireland. So just make sure that you are kind of aware of the year group that you're in. And it's a chance for you to learn and hear how our experts solve business problems at PwC, whilst enhancing your employability skills through a range of sessions, whether they're interactive or live or pre-recorded sessions as well. We are actually reopening our applications for the Virtual Insight Programme later on in May. Applications open next week on the 2nd. So for those of you that are interested in this programme, I definitely do recommend you scan the QR code on screen. It will take you over to our webpage where you can then put in applications next week. But to go into more of a breakdown of what the programme actually covers, it is a 3-day virtual kind of experience where you'll be provided with key information and skills needed to make an informed decision about your next steps after school or college. So as part of the programme, you'll be getting exposure into a few of our lines of services, which are basically ways that we kind of call our departments within PwC. So we've got tax, consulting, audit, which kind of covers accounting and finance, and then technology as well. So for those of you that are not sure where you want to progress your career, it definitely is a really good chance for you to find out a bit more about all of the different areas within the business before you get to year 13 and you make that final decision there. Now, the content is easily accessible from the comfort of your own home. We do know it is taking place in the summer, so people tend to go away on holiday, and we have had students in the past, believe it or not, take part in our sessions whilst they are away. And the reason for that is because a lot of them are pre-recorded, which means that you can watch them in the evenings or kind of in your spare time. And then we also have some live interactive sessions as well, where you can kind of put your knowledge to the test and find out a bit more about how we work with clients within our different areas of the business. There'll be a chance for you to gain some top tips on the application process and engage with our people as well, including our current students on our school and college leaver programs, as well as our Flying Start programs too. So definitely a good opportunity for students to hear a bit more about life at PwC. Now, we also have our career launch work experience, and we're delighted to announce that our brand new launch for this programme kind of happened a few months ago, and we are going to be taking part in this programme in Belfast and Manchester. Now, it is specific to only the 2 office locations, unfortunately. So for those of you that are kind of in and around the area, you do still have the chance to apply, but just make sure that you are kind of looking at the job description to ensure that you are eligible for the programme. And the reason for that is because you do have to be within a commuting distance of either one of the offices. Now, the Career Launch Work Experience programme is very similar to the Virtual Insight programme. The only difference is that this is a paid work experience programme, and it does take place in one of our offices, which would either be Belfast or Manchester. And again, similarly to the Virtual Insight programme, you are getting an insight into the different aspects of the business, and you're able to kind of gain that hands-on experience there as well. Applications for this programme will open kind of later on this year for the 2024 intake. So again, just make sure that you are scanning that QR code on screen if you are interested in the programme. And when our applications go live, you should then hopefully be sent a notification so that you can ensure to get your applications in as soon as possible. And it is worth noting as well that this programme is only open for Year 12 students. Now, to go into a bit more detail about what the programme kind of entails, it is a 5-day work experience programme where you'll get the chance to network with current and past students on our pathways, and you'll get the chance to participate in interactive skill sessions and experiences of what it's like to work in a range of our different business areas. The entry criteria, as I mentioned, you do have to be in Year 12 if you're in England, or Year 13 for those of you that are in Northern Ireland and will be looking to apply to the Belfast office. You do need to be on track for at least 96 UCAS points. So for those of you that are maybe in Year 10 or 11 and you're not quite sure what UCAS points are, when you do get to college and you get to Year 12, this is something that your tutors can kind of talk to you about in a bit more detail. You do need to live within a 60 minutes commuting distance of either one of the offices, just to make sure that you're not travelling from too far for the 5 days work experience, and that is mainly for wellbeing reasons, because we are very big on wellbeing and kind of like personal time and work-life balance at the firm as well. Now, for those of you that are in Year 13, or for those of you that are in Year 12 and are looking to put in your applications when you get to next year, we have our school and college leaver programme. Now, this is for students who kind of want to go straight into full-time work after completing the A-levels. We offer this programme in 3 different areas of our business. So we've got consulting, tax and operate. Now, for those of you that are interested in consulting and tax, they are both a 2-year programme, whereas operate is slightly different. It's specific to our Belfast office in Northern Ireland, and it is a 4-year programme. Now, regardless of what pathway you choose to take, you do receive a full-time salary and you'll be studying towards a fully funded qualification. So for those of you that decide to study tax, you'd be studying towards the CFAB or the ATT tax qualification. And if you're doing consulting, you'd be studying towards the Level 4 Consulting Apprenticeship Programme. You do get the chance to get involved with real work, and you'll have the chance to take part and take on some real responsibility within your team. So you'd be working with other associates, senior associates, managers and senior managers, as well as partners and directors as well, on a range of client projects. We have excellent support and progression at the firm, and because you're not going to university, there is no student debt, which is, I think, the biggest seller for a lot of students. Now, in terms of some of the benefits of joining on a school and college leaver programme, you get exposure to real client work at the age of 18 as soon as you finish your A-levels, which not a lot of other 18-year-olds can say. You continue onto PwC's graduate programme after the 2 or 4 year programme. So without having to go to university and do a degree, you'll still be eligible after the school and college leaver programme to then enrol onto the graduate programme with the rest of the graduates. You'll have the opportunity to gain a professional qualification whilst you work. So we are definitely big on empowering our people and to making sure that they are experts in the fields that you kind of decide to progress your career in. So we're very big on kind of learning and development there. You do receive a competitive financial package as well as all of our other PwC benefits such as private healthcare, we have a cycle to work scheme, and we have lots of other kind of choices as well. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there is no student debt because you're not going to university. Now, for students who do want to go to university and gain that university experience, we offer a range of different degree level apprenticeships, but we'll start off with our Tech Degree Apprenticeship first. Now, we offer this on 2 different pathways. We have the Study First pathway, where you would go to university and then come to PwC on work placements, or we have the Work First pathway. Now, this is slightly different in the sense that you would come directly to PwC and get that hands-on experience. We then kind of release you to college to complete your degree throughout a few weeks of your time with us at the firm. Now, to go into more detail of the Study First pathway. Now, we partner with a range of leading universities within the UK. We partner with the University of Leeds and Birmingham, where you'd study towards a computer science degree. We partner with Queen Mary's University of London, where you'd be studying towards a data analytics degree, or Queen's University Belfast, where you'd be studying towards a software engineering degree. Now, again, similarly to the different pathways that we offer, we don't favour one university or a degree over another. It really does just depend on what degree is better suited to you, I guess, and what you would enjoy the most, and what location you would want to kind of move out into and have that student experience in. Now, regardless of what university you go to, it is a 4-year degree programme where you'd have 3 to 4 integrated work placements at the firm. So you'd then be kind of putting your theory into practice. It is a fully funded qualification. So PwC would pay for you to do your degree. So there's no need to take out a student loan, and you would also be receiving a full-time competitive salary as well. So you've kind of got that financial kind of benefit on the side too. The entry requirements do vary depending on the university that you apply to, but it does vary from 3As to 1A and 2Bs. And there is a chance of reduced offers as well, but we always ask that you kind of link in directly with the university that you apply to, just to check in with them to see if they have any potential access programs that would lower the grade boundaries for you. Now, for these programs, you do put in your applications through a UCAS. So I know you can see these odd codes next to each university, and that just basically refers to the specific program at the university as well as the partnership with PwC. So if that's something that you are kind of unsure about, please do make sure that you are linking in with your teachers before you are putting in your applications. And we've also got the QR code on screen as well for you to find out a bit more. So I'll just leave that up on the screen for a few moments so that you are able to scan that QR code. But I am going to hand you over to one of our business ambassadors who can tell you a bit more about her time at university. So I'll hand over to Megan first. So Megan, if you want to talk to us a bit more about your time at the University of Leeds and what it is that you do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, fab. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I just want to quickly say we are seeing your questions and we'll answer them in the Q&A portion at the end. So I'm a technology degree apprentice and I go to the University of Leeds and I'm currently on my 3rd year placement. So I've had 2 6 to 8 week placements in the past, and now I'm with PwC for the whole year until September when I go back for my final year at university. So a bit of a typical sort of, I guess, year for me is, September to May-ish, we're just in university, and we don't have much contact with PwC unless it's with our sort of manager. So it's quite good because you get to concentrate on your university degree like a typical student. You get to do all the normal student stuff that you would do at university, all whilst being paid and still getting a free degree. And the pay is more than you would have got if you applied for student funding as well. So that's really good. Then when you get to PwC, you have the summer placements, which doesn't take your whole summer, which is quite nice, but it's just 8 weeks of working in different lines of services. So my first placement, I was with artificial intelligence, working on a lot of cool projects that were surrounding COVID-19, because I was sort of, we were in that cohort. And this year I'm working with valuations, which is essentially a team that goes to companies, look at all their assets and what they do, and sort of tell them how much they're going to be worth in 5 years, 10 years, things like that. So I absolutely love working with PwC and love working in technology. But we do loads of different things. It's not just tech. So I do a lot with data protection, data analytics, things like that. But also it's really cool that I get to sort of go to clients and consult them, work on proposals and things like that are very different to what I expected from being a computer science student. So it's nice to have that like technology side and the business side. I think my sort of top tips for anyone that's applying is to make sure they're encouraging working together with other people, especially within your interview rounds as well. And so I think that's everything from me for now, but I'm happy to answer questions in the Q&A portion.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Megan. The chat box had frozen for me, but it seems to be working now, so that's great. I can see your questions coming in. But as Megan said, we'll address a lot of these towards the end of the session for the Q&A. So thank you, Megan. I'm going to go back to the previous slide because I talked you through the study first pathway, which is what Megan is on. But I'm now going to talk you through the work first pathway of our Tech Degree Apprenticeship Programme as well. So we have 2 different pathways, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the work first pathway is where you would come straight to PwC after completing your A-levels, and you would you'd kind of learn on the job at PwC. So you spend 80% on the job learning. We then release you off to Ada College, which is a digital skills college in Manchester, about a 10-minute walk from the office, so not too far at all, where you would spend some time studying towards a degree with the Open University, and that is a Bachelor of Science in Digital and Technology Solutions. So you're still studying towards a degree, but it's kind of like on the flip side. So instead of going to university and getting that experience of moving out and kind of going to lectures and seminars, it is more of a classroom-based approach and lots of self-study as well. This is a 3-year degree kind of programme rather than 4 years. And again, it is fully funded, just as the study first pathway is. So PwC would pay for you to do your degree, and you would also receive a full-time competitive salary as well. The entry requirements for this programme are slightly lower, so it is 112 UCAS points, which I believe at the minute equates to 2 Bs and a C, but just make sure that you are kind of checking that with your teachers as well. And again, there is another QR code on screen, so for those of you that are interested in this programme, feel free to scan the QR code there. Someone has asked, if you're not in Manchester, how can you do the programme? It depends on where you live. If you are within a commutable distance of the office, so we usually say anything more than an hour's commute is probably too far away, then we would expect you to kind of move out and find accommodation elsewhere, so to move closer to Manchester, which is what a lot of our students do who apply to the programme. You are joining as part of quite a big cohort. So for this programme this year, we welcomed 68 students, and this is the first year that we were running it, which has been super successful, which is why we're now running it for another year for 2023 and for 2024 as well. And we are able to recruit so many more students, so the cohort will be even bigger. So we tend to have a lot of students who tend to move in together. They network for the first few weeks, and then we'll find kind of accommodation together as well. So you do have that chance there to kind of build your network as well. Perfect. Okay, so moving on to our Flying Start accounting programme. Now, this is very similar to the study first pathway for technology, in the sense that you go directly to university and you apply through UCAS, and it is again a 4-year degree programme in length. Now, you would be studying towards an accountancy, business and finance degree at any one of our partner universities. So we've got the University of Manchester, Newcastle, Nottingham, Reading, and then Queen Mary University of London as well. As I mentioned, it's a 4-year degree programme, and the reason for that is because you do up to 3 paid integrated work placements at the firm. So whilst you're at university, the university would release you to then come to PwC and put your theory into practice. Now, depending on the the university that you apply to. Again, the entry requirements do vary between 3 A's, 2 A's and a B. So again, make sure that you are checking on UCAS before you apply and linking in directly with the university if you are unsure. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but to become an accountant, you do need to do 15 exams and you have to study the ACA qualification to become chartered. Now, as part of this degree programme, you actually complete 12 of your 15 exams during the 4-year degree programme. So that once you join the firm after you've graduated, you would do your final 3 exams and then you would be a fully qualified chartered accountant. So it really is a flying start into your career into accounting. And it does mean that you are 4 years ahead of a standard graduate. So for someone that has just done a 3 or 4 year degree at university and then joined us on a grad scheme, they would have to do all 15 of their exams from the scratch. But for those of you that do join on the Flying Start programme, you're actually 4 years ahead because you would have already done 12 of these exams already. Now, this isn't a fully funded programme, so students tend to take out a student loan, but we do offer a financial bursary of up to £10,000 for students who meet our eligibility criteria, which is something new to this year. So if you think that you would be eligible for that, depending on the criteria when you put in your application, you can definitely put in an application for the bursary as well. Now, I'm going to hand you over to Anna, who is our current student at the University of Manchester, who is on our Flying Start accounting programme. So over to you, Anna.
Brilliant, thanks Hafsa. Yeah, as she said, my name's Anna, I study at Manchester and I'm currently on placement, currently in the office at Embankment Place, so right in central London. What made me decide to take this degree was mainly because I really enjoyed being employed as well as studying, and I didn't really want to give either of those up. So for me, this was like the best of both worlds, especially because I thought one day I'd want to become a chartered accountant. So this, as the name suggests, it really gives me a flying start into that career, and then I can experience and be exposed to it a lot earlier. So far I'm in my 3rd year. I'm currently on my 2nd placement. So currently I've had about 4.5 months of audit experience. And as it stands, I'm about halfway through getting so as part of getting qualified as an accountant, you need 450 days work experience. I'm currently on about 110, 120 days. So I'm definitely working towards that. So it means I'm definitely on track to becoming chartered in a couple of years' time, which I'm really excited for. I would say it's a challenging but very rewarding degree. It's really nice knowing that when you do those modules, not only are you working towards a degree, but at the same time you are ticking off those, like some of those exams that are becoming chartered. So it's definitely something I'd recommend if you're thinking of becoming chartered in a few years and you want that work experience, but at the same time you're not sure if you want to give up that university experience, because while you're at university, you're fully immersed into the culture, you're fully immersed into the experience, and you are, I think the common thing people say is people wouldn't realise you're on a degree apprenticeship unless you tell them or they ask, which is something that's really nice. And then the good thing about this degree also compared to other degree apprenticeships is once you finish your exams, you drop everything and you move to your placement location. If you live over an hour away from the office, then you get free accommodation as well, which is definitely a bonus. So that's something I'm definitely making use of.
Okay, so it's taking 0 balance.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. We have had a few questions about the eligibility criteria for the bursary. So for students that are successful in securing a role on the programme, we would then send out an application for you to apply for the bursary, where we would kind of outline the specific criteria on there. But thank you, Anna and Megan. It was great hearing from you. For those of you that do have any questions for either Megan or Anna, please do kind of pop them in the chat function or the Q&A function, and we can address them towards the latter end of the session. Now, finally, we have our final Flying Start programme in business management. This one is specific to Belfast. So you'll be studying towards a Bachelor of Science in leading on customer operations with Ulster University. You'd be working in the customer management, financial crime or business operation teams within PwC. And again, this is quite a different structure. So instead we use kind of like a day release programme where you would work for 4 days of the week, and then for 1 day of every week you would go to Ulster University during term time to kind of make sure that you are fulfilling your studies as well. The duration of the programme is a 4-year apprenticeship programme with prospects of permanent employment kind of after. In terms of funding, tuition fees are paid for, as well as receiving a salary of up to £21,500 as part of the apprenticeship programme. There is also lots of training involved with the programme as well, so you will receive a full PwC induction and ongoing training throughout the 4 years. So as I mentioned, we are very big and passionate about learning and development, especially of new young talent coming into the business, so there's definitely lots of opportunities for you to grow and progress within the firm. Now, I've talked your ears off about all of our different pathways in which you can join the firm and all of the opportunities. So I am going to spend some time now talking about our selection process and what you need to do exactly to be able to secure a place on any one of our different pathways. So for those that are interested in the Flying Start programs, you can apply through UCAS. So as you would put in a usual application for a university, you have up to 5 kind of options. You can use any one of your options to also apply for our kind of partnered programs with PwC and the partner universities that you saw on screen earlier. You would then take part in a PwC online application form. You would do our online behaviour-based assessment, where we basically assess your personality traits. There's lots of other competencies on there as well that we assess against the PwC professional framework. You would then take part in a video interview, which is a pre-recorded format of an interview where you would record your answers, it comes through to the team, we then kind of review that. You would then take part in PwC's Assessment Centre, which again is virtual, but it's a chance for you to find out a bit more about life at PwC. So you take part in a working day at the firm, you'd be given a schedule, it's all self-managed, you'd be taking part in lots of different client projects, sending emails to partners and clients and senior managers, just to get a real insight into what it's like. So although it's a chance for us to assess you in the working environment, it's a chance for you to see whether PwC is a place you would want to progress your career. And then finally, on A-level results day, once you've got your results and we know how you've performed, you would receive a phone call from one of our recruiters to let you know whether you have received an offer or not. Now, for those that are applying for any of our school and college leaver programs or our Work First Flying Start Tech Degree pathway, you wouldn't apply through UCAS, you apply directly through our website. So you can skip step 1 and you kind of just take part in steps 2 to 6. Perfect. I can see that there are quite a few questions coming in about the application process, which I think makes sense to address now. So what happens at the assessment centre? During the assessment centre, you take part in a range of tasks. There'll be an aspect of you taking part in a written report. There'll be some numerical questions. You'll have a live one-to-one interview with a recruiter, and then you'll be taking part in some group projects as well. So we're able to kind of assess you in lots of different ways. How many times can you do the video interview? So during the video interview, the question will appear on screen. You'll have time to kind of digest the question and practice a response. You then have 3 attempts at recording your interview. And once you've done that, you can then submit the best of the 3, which will then come through to the team, and that is what we assess. Now, I did mention the PwC professional framework, and this is basically a breakdown of 5 different competencies that we use to assess all candidates throughout all stages of the process. So it definitely is a really good idea that you familiarise yourself with these 5 different competencies so that you're able to kind of meet all of our criteria. But just to go over it, we have whole leadership. So that is us assessing whether you can lead yourselves, can you lead others in a group, and are you driven by our PwC purpose and values. We have business acumen, which is basically just a fancy way of assessing your business knowledge. So it's looking at whether you can demonstrate analytical thinking. Can you go out of your way to do some research into the wider business market? So let's just say, for example, you apply for a role in technology. Are you able to go out of your way and research the different types of tech that we use at PwC, the types of tech our competitors might be using in the market? Do you understand artificial intelligence, robotics, and all the different kind of ways we use tech at PwC? Then there's also technical and digital. Now don't worry, because you don't need to be a tech expert to be able to showcase this competency. You don't need to be able to code, because I definitely cannot code, but I'm here at PwC. So instead we are looking at whether you can adhere to quality standards and practices at the firm, and whether you can engage productively in a digital world. So the fact that you've been able to jump onto this session today virtually is definitely a good start. We also have global and inclusivity. So can you demonstrate a global and cultural curiosity? So very similar to business acumen, are you able to kind of go out of your way and do that wider research into our different clients? As I mentioned, we are a big global industry, so you would be working with clients not only in the UK, but internationally as well. And can you leverage the power of the PwC network? So reaching out to your colleagues for support, reaching out to your team and your network as well. And then finally, relationships, which arguably is probably one of the most important, because without relationship skills, you wouldn't be able to achieve the previous 4 competencies. So can you communicate with impact? So not only with clients, but with your team as well and with the people around you. And are you passionate about delivering a successful client service, which is something that we are very big on at the firm. So that is the PwC professional framework. Now I can see a question has come in from Lola, who has asked, is there a way or a place that you can practice the test, which takes me on very nicely onto the next slide of the Employability Hub. So our Employability Hub here kind of covers all of the different aspects of the recruitment process. Now it breaks down every single stage, and there is lots of e-learns and hints and tips on here that you can take part in. So please do take part in the e-learns. There's some videos that you can watch on what to do to be successful and what you should avoid doing in a virtual setting in order to make sure that you're not kind of hindering your application in any way. You can take part in a mock video interview, mock behaviour-based assessments. So definitely be sure to scan this QR code on screen to make sure that you are getting access to all of the support that is out there before you do put in your applications with us. Perfect. I'll come back to this slide shortly, but just going back to the previous slide about interview top tips. Just out of curiosity, has anyone done an interview before, whether that's a video interview or a live interview? Has anyone taken part in an interview? For those of you that haven't ever done an interview previously, don't worry. It can be very nerve-wracking, even for someone who has done multiple interviews before. And as an interviewer, what I do as part of my job is that I do interview candidates, and whenever I kind of go ahead for an interview for a new role, maybe, I always still definitely find it very nerve-wracking. So I can see a few people have, quite a few haven't. Don't worry if not, because hopefully the Employability Hub will give you a good chance to kind of get lots of hints and tips and take part in some practice interviews before the real thing. But just to go over some top tips, it's always important to note the closing dates. So make sure that you are having a look at all of the deadlines in the job description, just to make sure that you are completing the assessments within the allotted times. It's always a good idea to read up on our values and our attributes at PwC, and not just at PwC, but for any kind of application or any firm that you apply to. It's always a good idea to look into the business and to have a look at their values. Know the role and the company that you've applied for. It's crazy the amount of times we'll interview candidates for a specific role and they forget what it is that they've applied for because they've put in so many applications. So always make sure that you are taking the time ahead of the interview to prepare. Make sure that you understand exactly what it is that you're getting yourself in for. So I know that Anna mentioned she is doing accounting, so she's studying towards her ACA qualification. So make sure that you know whether you would be doing exams as part of the programme, whether you have to study or whether you're kind of just going into full-time work. Make sure that you know exactly what the role entails. Prepare and practice. Now, practice definitely does help make perfect. So make sure that you are kind of using the Employability Hub to get access to lots of different online tools where you can practice ahead of the assessments. Make sure you are looking at the dress code. So as we mentioned, we have a dress for your day policy at the firm. So during our interviews, obviously you are going to be assessed. So make sure that you are putting in the extra bit of effort there. And make sure that your technology is working and you find a nice quiet location as well where you won't be distracted. And most importantly, make sure that you relax and work with the feedback that we give you. Now, I know that it's easier said than done to tell someone to relax, especially when you are super nervous, but we just want you to bring your full professional self to the interview. And hopefully having a look at our Employability Hub will help you kind of ease your nerves slightly once you kind of know exactly what it is that will be asked during the interview, what it will entail, and the Employability Hub is definitely your holy grail there as well. Perfect. So we're going to open it up for a Q&A now. So if we get both of our ambassadors on screen, so thank you, Anna and Megan. We have had quite a few questions come in, which I think have got lost in the chat box. So if anyone does have any questions that they want answered by the ambassadors, please do kind of pop them in the chat box or the Q&A function again, and we can hopefully get them addressed.
Well, that was very insightful. Thank you very much for your session there. I'm sure the attendees found it very inspiring, shall we say. So we got a few questions in here. Should we start off with Denzel says, are there any tech work first degree apprenticeships based in London?
Unfortunately not, Denzel. So the only work first pathway that we have is in Manchester.
Perfect. So John says, where can I see the eligibility criteria for the bursary?
So I think we answered that question throughout the presentation, but we'll definitely answer it again. So the eligibility criteria for the bursary you'll kind of get access to once you've completed the PwC selection process. So once you've been successful in securing a role on the programme, the team would then be in contact with you to send you a form to see if you are eligible for the role. But just to kind of give you a quick overview, it is mainly for students who are kind of like the first person in the family to go to university, who've maybe had support in the past, who have free school meals. So it's from students from kind of a social mobility background.
Perfect. How does PwC stand out amongst its competitors? Big one.
I think we'll hand that over to either Anna or Megan. What made you guys want to apply for PwC instead of any of our other competitors?
I think a really good incentive is obviously the competitive salary, but also that there's no period of time you have to work after you've graduated. So like the reason they do this is because they kind of want us to stay on and keep working with them, which I wouldn't see why you wouldn't, because it's great. But the fact that you can leave and explore different options has us sort of above other competitors that may have like 2 years sort of set for you to stay. So that's one thing.
Perfect.
I think for me it was more just the Flying Start degree in itself is the only degree like university like standard degree apprenticeship that's actually still going to this day, where you have the block of study, you have the block of work. So I thought I'd much more appreciate the balance, so you don't have to be studying at the same time as working. I think also for me, if you compare it to say working in industry where you'll be working say for a certain just like fixed company, there'll be a lot. I think realistically you'll be working towards a certain goal of maybe like overall trying to benefit the company in terms of profits or trying to like constantly outperform others. Whereas in this case, it's like a much more of a team effort, and there's a lot of values that sort of emulate that.
Perfect. Well, that sort of goes into the next question here. It says, what is your main goal from obviously doing what you're doing now? What is your main goal from working with PwC?
I think for me it would be getting chartered, but also it would be getting to know a lot of people, a lot of networking experiences, also just working my way up, hopefully gaining more responsibilities as I get more experience. So as I'm on my second placement now, I already feel a lot more responsibility than I did last time, which is definitely something I really appreciate. So it feels like I'm being valued. But I think overall it's just being happy in the job I'm in, so that it doesn't feel like I'm working.
Amazing. Question from Andrew here, great name. How strict are you with GCSE grades?
I think I'll answer that one from a recruiter perspective. So for the majority of our roles, you do need to at least pass. So in old money, that would be a C, but I know we now work with numbers. So I believe it is either a 5 or a 6, maybe even a 4. So you would have to just double check, but you do need to be on track to at least have passed your English and maths. But other than that, we mainly just look at your A-level qualifications to make sure that you're on track. And that does depend on the program you apply to. So we'd either look at UCAS points if it's a school and college leaver program. So it's between 96 and 112 UCAS points for the school and college leaver apprenticeship. But for the Flying Start degree apprenticeships, again, those grades are set by the universities rather than PwC. So just make sure that you are checking on UCAS and checking directly with the universities themselves. So hopefully that answers your question, Andrew.
Perfect.
Just to add to that as well, sorry, I actually went through Access to Leeds, which was like a social mobility program where, because my parents hadn't gone to uni and a few other factors, my grades got dropped from AAA to ABB to get in, and they give extra support throughout the throughout the time you're at university as well. So it's worth looking into access schemes.
Well, very nice. Next question here. John says, what type of AI projects are you working on?
I did my camera instead. So I've done one where we simulated the office in order to work out, when everyone was still social distancing, in order to work out how to have the office set in such a way that we can have a large capacity of people without the risk of, breaking social distance guidelines, and without, risk of spreading COVID, which sounds kind of boring, but it was really cool doing it. But yeah, it's things like that. We also work with drones on occasion, which people find cool, but there's less use cases for that.
Very nice. Sounds cool. I'd like to work with a drone once in a while. Well, here's another question for you then. Daniel says, what guidance would you give an international MSc AI graduate regarding a potential career path at PwC?
I think I'm probably better suited to answer this one coming from the recruitment team. Today's session was mainly for school students, so we didn't cover any kind of opportunities for postgrads, but we do have you can apply for any of our graduate roles. You don't need to have a postgrad degree. We would only look at your undergraduate degree, but we have an array of roles within technology, especially AI, because it is such a big growing field at the minute within the firm. That kind of falls under a range of our different line of services. So to find out more, Daniel, I would definitely recommend you have a look at our university webpage on our website.
There you go, Daniel. We've got another one here. When does your graduate programs open? I'm guessing you probably already gave specific dates.
Great question. So again, today's session was mainly based on our school and college leaver opportunities for students post A-levels, but the applications for graduate roles open on the 1st of September for our 2024 intake. So you've missed the intake, unfortunately, for 2023, but for 2024, they open on the 1st of September of this year.
There you go. You always got next year, don't you?
Yeah.
So there's another one here. Josephine says, what if you do not have work experience?
I love that question. And the reason why I love getting asked that question is because our recruitment process is motivational based rather than competency based. So what that basically means is that we don't expect you to have work experience to apply for any of our Flying Start programs, any of our work experience programs, any graduate programs. And the reason for that is because you would be joining as an associate. It is an entry-level program, and we don't expect you to have reels of work experience in a range of different industries at that age or at that point in your career. So don't worry about not having work experience, because it definitely does not put your application at a disadvantage. Instead, we assess your motivations for why you want to work at the firm, why you want to work in the area of the business that you've applied to, rather than what you've kind of done previously. So don't worry about that. For those of you that do have work experience, great, because you would have definitely picked up the transferable skills there. But if you haven't, it doesn't disadvantage your application, so don't worry.
Just to add on to that, I think realistically you can apply it to any job situation, but any experiences you have working with other people is really good in an interview process. Like, you'll gain so many interpersonal skills, say going into like prefect roles or being in extracurricular clubs. I know I gained a lot just from working in like theatres and everything. So definitely something I'd recommend there too, is just making sure, like, evaluating what you've picked up from different experiences, not just work.
Perfect. Amazing. I think I've answered most of the questions regarding the subject. Did you see all the responses to your questions from earlier?
Oh, yes, I did. They came through.
Perfect. Well, so someone was asking, can you put the link in the chat for the website?
Yep, we can find the link for the webpage. I'm not sure if they were referring to a specific program, but I will ping you the link to, we refer to it as our early careers webpage, and you can find all of the relevant information on there. So I'll just pop that in the chat function now.
Perfect.
Yeah. And someone else has put the link in for the sign up to the talent network as well. So that's already there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you to whoever did that.
Amazing. Holly says, I'm unsure what to do at PwC. Can you give any advice? Obviously that is quite broad, but say from your, obviously you've experienced this, how did you decide on what you wanted to do at PwC?
I think definitely do your research. There is so much that we do. It's almost impossible to find something you wouldn't want, like to not find anything you'd want to do. So definitely do the research. Speak to people as well. Events like this are really good, and we run loads of events that can be also specific. So I know we've done like an audit event before. Yeah, so it's worth research, looking into it. Adding people on LinkedIn from the different lines of service that you're thinking about joining, because sometimes their information on their page is really useful, or you can just message them, see if they have any advice for you. But yeah, there's so much. I think all I can say is research and think about what you enjoy doing, because I'm sure you'd find something.
Perfect. Going on, obviously from your experience, is there anything that you found that you didn't expect of yourself, that you were quite surprised throughout this journey?
I have definitely. I joined, expecting to just do computer science, sit in a room and code. It's definitely not been like that. I had loads of opportunities to work as like a proper businesswoman, and I've actually found that I really enjoy working with like the recruitment teams and the like social mobility teams to run events for people in schools. So we go into sort of primary schools and high schools to give them sort of skill sessions. And I've realized I really enjoy that just as much as I like sitting and doing the coding stuff, which is very different to what I've always done. I think the fact you get to explore loads of different things, it is just really good. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'll open that question to the floor.
Anna, I'll let you go next.
Sorry. Yeah, I think for me, the experience you get on placements it's so much more than you could have imagined. As I said earlier, I've been on audit experience now for about four and a half months, and just how immersed you become during those placements, like you truly feel one of a team. I always thought maybe you'd feel like a bit like an outsider, or you feel like you wouldn't know enough, but it's amazing how quickly you get back into the swing of things, even when I had 8 months off between placements. Just how quickly I was hitting the ground running again, which was like a really nice experience. And yeah, you fully become like, last year I was on quite a busy team, and just getting so immersed and getting really involved in that is really rewarding.
Perfect. Amazing. Obviously, since there is so many attendees here, and it's obviously it's quite hard it's probably their only chance to talk to someone who's maybe an apprentice or is bit involved in PwC like this. So is there anything that from your experience proper stands out to you that you didn't expect of PwC to be helping you, or I don't know, just like didn't expect that PwC would help you in such a way?
I think the mentoring that you get, obviously in audit anyway, when you're going through the exams, you've got everyone in audit has been there before. So like talking to the partners even who've been in the company for like 20 years, they can provide so much guidance and advice to you. And the relationships you build from being in the firm, they are things that you keep even after you leave. So that's something I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well, all the benefits we get, like even as apprentices, we get the private healthcare. We can get the taste card, which gives us like 50% off loads of restaurants. We get like a gem system where if you've done really good work, people give you gems, which convert into like gift vouchers and things like that. There's loads of really cool things that we get as a benefit on top of, the salary, and on top of like really useful experience as well.
How's that gem system work?
So every month, everyone gets a certain amount of gems from like 500. And I know managers get more, and you like award them to someone and they explain why they've done amazing and why they've sort of fit to the PwC values. So basically, you can rack up a lot, and I think on the system you can get anything from like a £10 Sainsbury's voucher all the way to like an Xbox or a holiday, depending how long you stack them up for. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds, I want that. That sounds very cool. Obviously, we're wrapping up shortly, but before we do, I want your final words of advice for our attendees here and everyone who will be watching in the future. What advice can you give them for joining PwC or just wanting to get into a similar career?
I think it was like I said earlier, like any experience you have working with other people is always useful. You'll always overcome challenges, you'll always deal with different situations, always taking those on board, whether that be at PwC or elsewhere or in extracurriculars. Definitely take those on board and try and use those in the future.
Yeah, I think for me, I've got two quick ones. So I've got one is like always have an idea of maybe a list of skills that you're good at and an example to go with them. Because I know that we're sort of, we don't take work experience, but if you've got an idea of I'm good at team working because of this, and you have that in your remit for any sort of interviews or anything you go to, that's really useful. And I also recommend getting a LinkedIn. I know I mentioned it earlier, but it's like the business Facebook. You can add everyone that has the career that you're interested in, and you can message them, because the worst thing they can do is ignore you or say, I don't want to reply, or message them to get sort of their words of advice, and also start your own sort of like business profile. And that's always going to be useful in the future too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it would be make sure that you do utilize all of the kind of support that is out there. I know when like firms talk about recruitment processes and all the different opportunities, it can be super overwhelming, especially at this point in your kind of career where you've not probably even thought too much about it. So always try to tackle it in smaller steps, and there definitely is support out there, so always look for it. And if you can't find it, then reach out to someone, because they will definitely be more than happy to support and help you with that.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you very much for joining us today. Big thank you from our attendees and I for PwC team joining us, taking through their experiences and the opportunities they have to offer. Hopefully, I'll see everyone tomorrow for the final day of National Work Experience Week. I hope everyone found it very insightful. And remember, if you miss anything, you can watch it on our website and YouTube in the future. So thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a good evening.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank
Cheerio.
you.